the battle for the planet Earth is heading towards victory for the people as the satanic worshipping Khazarian mafia is being unmasked in ways that defy denial. We have a New York Times reporting that gates commemorating Baal are being constructed in New York and London. Then we have a leaked email from Hillary Clinton where she writes about sacrificing a chicken to Moloch. Moloch, another namesake of Satan, was the god that children were burned in sacrifice to an ancient Babylonian. Next, we have a photograph of German Chancellor Angela Merkel taking a selfie with one of the terrorists behind the Belgium airport terror that took place on March 22nd, day of satanic sacrifice. Mossad front company ICTS was in charge of security at the airport, and the attack killed no Khazarians, Pentagon sources note. It's also worth noting the number 322 is on the emblem of the German-founded Skull and Bones Society at Yale University. Skull and Bones is dedicated to Satan worship according to recent revelations. On top of this, we have U.S. presidential candidate Ted Cruz saying on TV that Donald Trump may be a rat, but I have no desire to copulate with him. In other words, he is saying he copulates with rats. Following this, we have Japanese Finance Minister Taro Aso saying that the United States in the 1930s, like Japan now, was suffering from deflation, and it was World War II that brought the U.S. out of that situation. He then adds that we are looking for the trigger. First, we can see the fraudulently elected Abe regime now exposing its true fascist face. Are you starting to see a pattern here? Either these powerful leaders have gone collectively insane, or a systematic campaign to expose them for what they really are is fully underway. My guess is that it is the latter, and the NSA and other agency white hats are exposing these people in order to help overthrow them. In fact, in a clear sign the white hats are on the move, U.S. top General Jose Dunford last week summoned the Google chief Eric Schmidt to the Pentagon, according to U.S. military intelligence sources. At this meeting, Dunford told Schmidt that Silicon Valley has been put under Pentagon control. As if to underline this, Intel founder, Hungarian Jew and Silicon Valley elder statesman Andrew Grove died of undisclosed causes at around the time this meeting was taking place. Andrew was responsible for putting a backdoor in all Intel computer chips to allow full access to what is in everybody's computers, sources at Iraq say. Pentagon control of Silicon Valley will almost certainly drastically cut off the flow of information to Khazarian mafia. This takeover may be why the internet is suddenly filling up with revelation of top Khazarian power brokers' satanic connections. In a related move, the FBI was forced to back off its attempt to gain a backdoor into iPhones due to massive oppositions against invasion of privacy via phone backdoors, Pentagon sources say. Pentagon control of Silicon Valley will also make it much harder to electronically rig the U.S. presidential election. A recent string of losses by Hillary Clinton may be evidence to vote rigging is being stopped. Also in the U.S. presidential campaign, Donald Trump disappointed many people with what appeared to be a roving speech to the Jewish AIPAC lobby. At the speech, Trump, who always just speaks his mind, read a pre-vetted speech from a teleprompter. The aim of Trump's kowtowing to the Jewish lobby was to prevent his assassination and also to help the Jews free themselves from Khazarian mafia mind control, the sources say. In any case, immediately after the speech, Trump gave interviews saying the U.S. should stop providing military protection for other countries free of charge. The biggest beneficiaries for these largest are NATO and Israel. The Trump comments about NATO, which includes Turkey, will also aim at underlying the fact the U.S. military would not fight to protect Turkey from Russia. Without U.S. support, NATO would not stand a chance against Russian military. Trump also mistakenly believed the Japanese are getting a free ride on defense when in fact they are paying the U.S. military bills in Japan. In another major development, Blackwater founder Eric Prince has been forced to flee to the U.S. as the Department of Justice closed in on him for a large list of crimes including money laundering, murder, arms trafficking, and more. Prince is now in Khazarian mafia stronghold Turkey. However, Turkey's President Recep Erdogan is becoming paranoid and isolated and will not be able to either stay in power or shelter Prince much longer. Prince also tried to sell his services to the Chinese to protect their operations in Africa, but the Chinese only pretended to show interest in order to find out about his operations, Chinese government sources say. Speaking about China, Rockefeller bagman Henry Kissinger went there on March the 13th, but was only allowed to meet with War General Jan Van Gui. Kissinger was almost certainly there to discuss gold and the situation in Indonesia. Kissinger may have also been trying to block the 8,000-ton gold deal mentioned in this newspaper. It's a good guess he returned without gold because Indonesian President Joko Widodo has made a firm decision to stop supporting the Khazarian cabal, according to CIA source in Asia. This took-away decision infuriated the Khazarians, who immediately began paying professional agents propagators to stage riots in the capital Jakarta, the sources say. There was also an incident last week where the Indonesian Coast Guard intercepted the Chinese fishing vessel in Indonesian waters. The fishing vessel was packed to the gills in electronic surveillance equipment, and as is being touted by the Indonesians, a Chinese Coast Guard vessel rammed it and sank it, the sources say. The Indonesians have decided they want to provide gold to keep the U.S. military in business around the Straits of Malacca in order to ensure they do not fall under complete Chinese control, they add. Chinese government sources, for their part, say they do not mind a U.S. military presence in the region so long as peace and freedom of navigation is maintained. They also say the colonialism has deprived them of so much of the traditional control of the islands near China, and that China wants to assert its historical rights. So clearly, there's still a lot of horse trading to be done in the South China Sea. Meanwhile, in South America, the Khazarian mob is struggling desperately to seize control of Brazil, a former Nazi shelter. To this end, they sabotaged the plane of meritocracy advocate Roger Agnelli. Agnelli was head of Bell, the world's largest iron ore company. He was also one of the Khazarian mob's biggest enemies in the region, Pentagon sources say. Despite this, Brazil is not going to let the Khazarian destabilization campaign against the government succeed, Pentagon sources say. Also in South America, U.S. President Barack Obama declassified files on the U.S. government's involvement in Argentina during the war. These revelations were made in part to help the Jesuit Pope Francis to retire, since he was chummy with the Vedala-led junta, CIA sources say. We can also reveal here that the Chinese, through the dragon families, also claim extraterrestrial contact going back thousands of years. Perhaps they will also start telling the world public more on that subject.